Kerstin, welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Today we're going to talk about scaling up SEO in the legal space. And I was having a look at your LinkedIn profile. I think you have a very fascinating experience to date because you're someone who's been in the finance and legal space for quite a while now. I am curious. Is there a story behind why you chose finance and legal industries?
Well, sort of. It almost came to me, and I find it quite fascinating, but I think from the outside it looks a bit, why this boring stuff? What are you doing with your life? So, but I find it fascinating. I love it actually. It's the perfect industry for me. But no, it almost kind of happened. I worked in technology, B2B, as my first job. And then when I moved agency side, it just so happened that I had a lot of clients. I was in Switzerland. There were a lot of banks, private investment firms, credit card companies. And so I just became very familiar with the industry. And then when I moved to the UK, I started at TSB, which of course is a bank. And then I made my way into fintech, and I thought, yeah, it was just really interesting. And it's also, I would say, a very important part of our lives. And
Hmm.
it just felt good to learn more about it, be able to almost contribute and share educational content and make sure people find information because it touches everyone. And that's part of what we do now at SeedLegals, which is, well, moving from finance to legal, but equally important. I think it's it's good to make sure information is available and accessible in a way that people can understand. And yeah, it's something I really, really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I'm with you with both industries, in fact, finance and legal. I think within SEO, if I were to pick an industry that's, if you like, the leading industry in SEO, it's probably e-commerce. But I find finance more
Yeah.
interesting than e-commerce, probably even more interesting than travel, because it's one of those areas where a lot of people
Okay.
might find it boring, but to me, um, it lends itself to the creative side of my brain in that there's a lot to explore within both finance and legal. Legal is an area that I'm
Yeah.
also venturing into. But we can talk about that some other time. But yes, both industries are fascinating to me, which is why when I came across your profile, I was like, oh, a fellow SEO in these industries. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
You've worked both client side and agency side. I
That's
like to
right.
ask
Yes.
SEOs this question. Which do you prefer?
Hmm. Ooh, tough one. It's part of my journey, and I found my place after a while. So I really, really wanted to work agency side because it's fast paced. You have a lot of different clients. You get to see a lot of different things, campaigns and projects. And it's really great for learning, I think. Yeah, just seeing different things, different websites, working on different projects. So I do love the variety. I do love the fast pace. But what I was missing was to be more involved, to see, okay, now we've made all of these recommendations and implementations. What's happening now? And I felt like I was never close enough. I felt I always handed over my baby and then it was gone. And who knows what's happening with it now? I mean, it's different from client to client. Sometimes you're more involved, sometimes you're less involved, but you don't have full ownership of the work that you do. So that's why I moved in house. Um, which then I thought, okay, now more involved. I'm working more together with other marketing channels. I understand the roadmap. I understand the targets better. I can, really embrace what I'm doing, just being more part of it and know things more in depth. But then I got really bored. It was too slow. And I was missing the fast pace. I was like, oh my God, everything takes forever. So the challenge was not SEO anymore. It was, how do I get things done? This is really hard. You know, I had all the ideas, I had all the recommendations, but I just felt blocked constantly. And that's when I found fintech, which was the perfect balance for me to be at a startup where things are super fast. You know, you have really ambitious targets and everyone's, you know, pulling together to make it happen. And so I had the fast pace, I had the excitement of there's always something new, but at the same time, I was fully integrated within the company and the team, and I had full ownership and of course responsibility for the things that I was doing. So for me, that was the perfect mix. So in-house for me, so I can be, you know, fully immersed in what I'm doing and have the responsibility. But at the same time, it needs to be an exciting and fast pace for me to still be happy.
Yeah, I find that a lot of client-side SEOs, they have the full gamut or remit of SEO from start to finish. Finish being not the deliverable of recommendations, but actually implementing the recommendations, getting several departments to go along with the recommendations and actually contribute to ensuring that it's brought to life, which is what matters from a marketing point of view, right? From a marketing with SEO point of view. What is it like doing SEO within the legal space?
It's probably different company to company. I would say I think I'm in a lucky position where I'm in the legal space, but I'm also at a very young company, at a company that embraces digital SEO content. So I think I have a really good starting point. And that's not always been the case in my career where, you know, as I mentioned, the challenge was more getting people on board, getting things done, getting sign off. So definitely very challenging. So it can be very hard, and it can be more around navigating people, politics and sign-offs, and that can be tricky, especially in the legal space. It's a very tough industry to be in for that, especially I would say if it's a more traditional company, they might not necessarily be on board with what you're doing. They might not necessarily see the value of what you're doing. So yeah, that is tough. I'm at a younger company at the moment that is, well, the whole existence of it is to make, I guess, the legal things that you need easier, faster, more cost efficient, and we cater to startup founders and investors. And we really embrace the digital space, and SEO content is just a very big part of our marketing strategy. And everyone's on board with that. Our CEO himself, he loves content. He loves writing articles. You know, he's fully immersed. So that does make it easier. But of course, it's still, I would say, more restricted in what you can do. And you need to have a really good process in place to make sure things are moving along. That is, still a challenge.
When I think of SEOs working in-house, they tend to go with industries that they are more familiar with, which is why I believe e-commerce is very prominent with their SEO. Whereas legal, it seems to be an industry where, okay, an SEO would know SEO, but wouldn't necessarily know the legalese, right, of the space. And SEOs who are in-house tend to either be very much focused on technical SEO or outreach or off-page SEO, whereas you're more content-led. So what is it like attaining collaboration with the different departments? Because I assume you have to attain legal expertise within the space, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I think to start with, it was a really steep learning curve for me because, as you said, I have no legal background. So yeah, a lot of learning during my onboarding time, and it never stops. It's,
Right.
you're just constantly learning, but I enjoy that. I like learning more and just challenging my mind all the time. But yeah, it's not something I was very familiar with. But I think because I've been doing this for quite a long time, I felt quite confident in my SEO skills. So I didn't need to learn that on top. So I already came with that. And then the learning for me was more around the legal topics. So I think that for me was a good starting point. And then, of course, we work a lot in collaboration. So we do have our legal experts in-house, which is great. And it's fully embedded in how we work as well. So if you imagine we have a content pipeline, and we have different steps from, ideation, planning, creation, and then we have different review stages, and legal is part of that. So they are very much involved, which of course sometimes can make the process slightly slower because it has more stages, but it also ensures that, what we're saying is actually correct and, and we're creating really good content. And I think we really like sharing what we create with the rest of the company. And so people see what we do, and we get really good feedback as well from customers or, other people reading our content. And because of this, I think people also like to contribute. And we've been taking it a bit further, that we don't only send things over for legal sign-off, but we interview our internal experts, we feature them throughout our content. That could be articles, could be books, whatever else, right? So they have their own profile pages. They're basically fully integrated in what we do. So really highlighting that expertise that we as a content or SEO team, we don't necessarily have, but we do have the experts that we work with. And so you can see that throughout everything that we do. And then also sometimes we get external experts on board as well, just to really, have a variety of people contributing and highlighting their expertise throughout our content. And then, of course, there are other things where the legal team are not involved in, which is more the technical SEO side of what we do. That's more with me, not so much with the team. So basically I'm the website owner, so to say. So I do have the responsibility for all technical things, but the majority of the team is content focused.
Mm-hmm. So content, I find a very interesting thing, right, within businesses, in that you have contents that can be spliced in several different ways. You can have content that's for marketing, and it's seen as the official brand content. And then you can have content that's specifically for each marketing channel, right? Is it a case of each department has their own content, or does content sit in the middle and each department contributes to a one unified content? How is content spliced?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a split. So we have our own planning that's very SEO, organic acquisition focused, and work on that to, some extent. But then also we're almost functioning as an internal content agency where we work across all different channels. So basically any content need comes through us. That could be collaborating with the sales team, or it could be coming from our performance marketing manager who needs ad copy or landing page copy. It could come through CRM, email marketing, where we then create the content. We're fully embedded into social media as well. So we're basically involved in all of the different channels, and I guess, content deliverables across the company, which also makes it nice because there are many ways we can reuse, repurpose the content that we're doing anyway, right? So it's not siloed at all. Everything that we do has not just one deliverable, but we usually reuse that to, share content through email marketing or social media or whatever else. So it's not just one area that we're working on.
All right. Is it a, if you like, brand-led content? What I mean by that is the content that's created by a business usually or typically tends to be brand focused. So it's the business talking about how great the business is. Whereas with SEO, right, we tend to look at content from a user acquisition lens, right? So we're advocating for users that we want to acquire. How do you ensure that the business or a business doesn't focus the content so much on the brand and create content that their audience wants from them?
Yeah, good question. There's sometimes a bit of a debate around that, depending on who you ask.
I can imagine, especially within the legal field. I can just imagine the conversations that happen in your space.
Yeah, so definitely different views here. But how we work is in different ways. So, and that's why your team or external partners, you can never have enough budget or enough people because, there's always so much to do. You could always do more different types of content, different formats, different platforms. So it's basically possibilities are endless, right? So how do you decide what to do? It's exactly that. Also annual planning coming up. So there you go. It's exactly this. So what do we focus on? What moves the needle? Well, I think there are different needs and we're trying to cater to them as much as possible. So we have our own targets for organic acquisition. So that's definitely one that's, I would say, non-negotiable. That's definitely what we do. I would call it probably educational, search demand driven content where we look at, okay, what is it that we do? What is it that we have to offer? And what content, is in line with that? Where can we help founders along their journey to make sure, when they search for whatever topic, they're searching for, that we come up, they find us, ideally they come back to us because we have really, really good content for them. So definitely a search demand-led approach, but combined with, okay, what's our product offering? What are the priorities within that? Seasonality is also a big one that factors into planning. And then also just speaking to sales and our customer support team. What are people asking? What do they need? What are they interested in? And with all of that information, that then informs the content plan. But of course, there are other types of content that are not search-led. So we, as I've said before, we want to make information available and accessible, easy to understand. So we do produce a lot of guides, ebooks, checklists, like more lead generation, downloadable content. And we have a lot of data because we are a legal company, but we have a technology platform where people, create contracts. They might do fundraising, so funding rounds, option schemes. Those are all different kind of things we do on platform. So because of this, we also have really good insights and data. So we might do data-led campaigns. We did a funding in the UK report. We have annual reports. So yeah, definitely more data-led thought leadership, which I guess then also contributes to branding, right? And just positioning us in the industry as forward-thinking, knowledgeable, hopefully. So yeah, different types of campaigns. And I guess the look at how great we are, hopefully is a result of the knowledge that we share, the insights that we share. And then, of course, LinkedIn is one of our main channels. We're quite active there. different people of the company, they also share the content. Our CEO loves to share our content, and he has a very large following. So that way we also get traction and engagement. Search demand led to some extent, but then also, I guess, other influences that, lead to our content creation.
Mm. Whenever I work within the finance space for finance brands, I find that there tends to be pushback on SEO, mainly because of bottleneck that occurs within compliance. So everything, right? This is an industry where pretty much everything goes through compliance. Compliance is the make or break of a campaign, right? And I find that with SEO, because it's so new within a business, especially within the finance space, just generally, there tends to be less awareness of it. And because of that, they are not sure how to navigate SEO or SEO related asks, right? And because of that, they tend not to really want to engage so much with SEO. So SEO gets the most pushback rather than having a bottleneck be created within compliance. Is it a similar thing within the legal space, especially when you're utilizing legal expertise?
I think the best way to navigate this is to not call it SEO. At least from my experience, this helps.
Right.
Because SEO is this, dark place where people just build links in their basement kind of thing that people find a bit dodgy. They don't really know what it is because it's so, there's so many aspects of SEO. What really is it, right? I think that's why people find it difficult to grasp, because if you do, any paid media campaigns, you put this money in, you get this out, you can see the campaign, that's it, right? But SEO is, it's much, much harder to get it. What is it? What do people actually do? What are the results of it? So from my experience, it helps if I just don't call it SEO, if I explain it in other ways, if I explain that we're just producing helpful content to be informative, educational, get our brand in front of people. Or maybe it has to do with creating a better user experience, and we do testing on the website and we're improving things. It depends on your stakeholders and who you're speaking to. If it's more, if someone's more, I guess, commercially driven or sales oriented within your business, I find it easier to get buy-in if you just talk about maybe organic acquisition and, how you're getting customers on board. So I feel it's almost about tailoring your communication and how you talk about SEO depending on your audience. And that makes it, I think, a little bit easier to get around this, because once you say SEO, people are like, ugh, this thing, this weird thing that no one understands. At least I think it works for me quite all right. But
When it comes to crediting and attributing results then or achievements, then is that an issue? Or is it just a case of, the bulk of the result or the achievement goes to X team, department, or person?
Yeah, it depends on the campaign. I think some campaigns are really easy to track, measure, and attribute. Others, not so much. For example, if we're doing, let's say, downloadable content such as ebooks or report, then everything that comes through organically would be attributed to SEO content as, I guess, organic acquisition through content. That's easy because, of course, we capture details. You can easily, connect the data. You understand what's the result. You can see from leads to conversions to even revenue. super straightforward, no questions asked. If we promote the same asset through paid media, then again, that would be attributed to paid. I mean, the content is still there, but that's fine. It can go to paid. It would be attributed to that. And other, I guess, content campaigns, anything that comes from our articles. Yeah, again, that would be organic acquisition, SEO attributed. And other content where we do contribute, such as social media, email, that will go to those channels. We're just a supporting act in those.
The ways of working with SEO is interesting to me, because this is why I really like client-side SEOs, right? Because they get it. They understand, okay, most businesses, just very broadly generalizing, they tend to have departments, teams, individuals that are non-SEOs set up before SEO is onboarded, right? So if you think of marketing, you have several different marketing channels on board within the business, and the ways of working with those channels are well known. And then comes SEO. And it's seen as the youngest channel because it is within the business. But it's seen as vague and unknown. And because of this, a business is not necessarily sure of how to incorporate SEO to better deal with it. Do you find that businesses have this challenge even to this day where SEO is 25 plus years old?
I think so. It's still a bit the mysterious child of the family, I suppose. And I mean, it does sit in different areas in different companies, right? SEO doesn't always sit in marketing. It could sit within tech, within product. There are different approaches to this. And I think that's exactly why, because we're still finding out, where does it sit? Where does it fit? How does it contribute? But I think that's just the nature of SEO, because it does touch so many different areas. So you can make the case for it to be a marketing function, but equally, if you're more working on tech SEO, maybe it makes more sense to sit within the tech team. So yeah, I think it is a challenge for companies to find the right structure, and I think it depends on the company, the requirements and the focus that they have to see, okay, where does it make the most sense? I think for me, SEO, there are so many different areas that we touch, that we, I guess, influence, try to optimize, try to influence with our experience and knowledge. So even for me, it's not necessarily straightforward, right?
Right.
If I just look at my day-to-day, I might work with developers, I might work with a design team, I might work with data. So there is no, I'm just doing this one thing, right? And honestly, I'm not even sure if SEO is the best name. I feel like we're just there to improve experiences, basically making sure other areas do their job better almost, just thinking, okay, how could that impact search? So sometimes I find myself to be more of an internal consultant for many different departments. So where should that sit? Yeah. I think for us at the moment, it still makes sense to be within marketing, but it could be placed elsewhere. I think the role for SEO, I guess it also changes over time slightly. A lot stays the same, but there's also changes, and maybe we're becoming more focused on different areas. I think it's really about creating the best experience while driving, acquisition at a reasonable cost.
Yeah, I think SEO in the very near future is going to drastically change, and it might be a case of the name isn't appropriate anymore, which you just indicated. SEO, we touch so many areas of it. In fact, we touch all areas of a business that has to deal with the website, right? So is it really about optimizing owning for search. I mean, we're optimizing processes. Especially processes. And within the industry, I think we're starting to see a shift within in-house and agencies. Agencies used to very much be leaders of the industry. Now businesses are having SEOs within the business, right? So they're having SEOs in-house, and because of this, it's shaping the way SEO is perceived, both within the business and within the industry overall. And I think the more we have SEOs who are in-house, the more the job title, right? I would say, in fact, definitely the job title is going to change. I'm starting to see it now. Most businesses still have SEO within SEO job roles, but the titling and growth doesn't follow the agency route anymore. You don't have SEO executive, manager, director. These days, you can have an SEO who's a product manager. Yeah, I've seen folks who are SEO project managers that's specifically on SEO. And I think that's a wonderful idea because they get to project manage several departments, but from an SEO lens. And it's wonderful because each department gets an understanding of SEO rather than having SEO traditionally be a bottleneck to optimize something before it's released on a website. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, having that SEO lens in different areas. So not necessarily one person that taps into different areas of the business, but having someone there who understands SEO, who maybe has some background in SEO, but then can fully contribute to, I don't know, be it product, be it processes, content. I think I can see a shift in that direction. I think there will probably still be some overarching function, which might be experience or growth or organic acquisition or whatever you want to call it, just, to keeping an eye on all the moving parts. But yeah, I think definitely integration within the different functions with that SEO lens. To me, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think there will be a shift because, I think traditionally, historically, in-house, you might have had one SEO person working with an agency. I think that was a fairly common setup. Yeah. But I think being more deeply integrated in-house, could work better for some companies. And then, of course, you don't have this one SEO person anymore who kind of has the deep knowledge for all the areas, because there's just so much now, right?
Yeah.
So I think, we'll probably see that more and more, that, SEO lens in different areas. I like that. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds good to me as well, because it looks into, okay, how do we influence the culture of the business? And that term culture has been on my mind for months now, right? Because I've always looked at SEO from the lens of, okay, we're not just optimizing what's on the website. That's one level, but we're optimizing processes, right? So that's a secondary level. And when you're dealing with that on that level, you're liaising with several different departments. You're ensuring that SEO is known from an operational level as well as a business leadership level point of view. And when you look at it from a business leadership point of view, that delves into the culture of a business, right? If you want to influence business leaders, you really are trying to almost influence them to change, or is change the right word? Use SEO better, or incorporate SEO within the culture of a business. And without this cultural change, SEO will always be perceived as a disruptor, which is very fascinating to me, because SEO within marketing, as I indicated earlier, is seen as the new kid on the block, the young marketing channel or discipline, the child, if you like, within marketing in a room full of adults. And all of that impacts the way SEO is treated. From a cultural point of view, doesn't it seem as though unless the culture changes, SEOs are always, the phrase against all odds comes to mind in terms of implementing recommendations and, of course, the strategy?
I think SEO has one really, really big challenge, which is that it's far less predictable as other channels. And therefore, it does take someone, in the company to be the ambassador, to have almost an educator function, to show what SEO can do, what it can achieve, why it is important. So I think, I guess you could call it a culture shift, where it's really about the education and understanding how to explain it in terms that make sense to business leaders, make sense commercially. Because, sometimes as SEOs, we might be stuck in the technical details, and
right, yeah,
those don't really matter to senior leadership teams, right? They want to see how much does it cost and what am I going to get for my money? And that's what, I guess it's a mindset shift for us working in SEO from, okay, maybe these technical details are really important to us, but no one else cares. So right. We need to shift our mindset to, think like the business leaders, the decision makers, and the people who basically hold the budgets, right? And help them understand what SEO can contribute. Maybe a bit of cultural shift, maybe a bit of mindset shift, for us working in SEO. But I think, that is definitely really, really important, because if you just communicate about the technical details about your work, it's really hard to get people on board to progress. Like, even if you think about career progression, and I think that's just something I can recommend to anyone working in an SEO. You might be, the best person doing SEO, you're an expert, you know your stuff, but no one else really cares. So you need to develop this understanding of what does it do commercially, how do you contribute to business goals, and I feel like this is then also how you can progress in your SEO career. So I think mindset shift is one of the things we should think about.
Yeah. Totally. Business over SEO, as I like to say. On your LinkedIn profile, I see you have you've carried out a lot of training around SEO, and I'm a big advocate for this. Hence the name, democratizing SEO. Right? SEO is not just for understanding of SEO, not just for SEOs, but for folks outside of SEO. On a scale of 1 to 5. How important is it within the legal space to have SEO training? Not so people can do SEO, but just so they have an awareness of SEO.
Do you mean within the company? So giving training to colleagues?
Yeah.
I think it is very important, at least for people to understand what does it do. Because if you don't do that, you will have the same conversations over and over and over again. And it's really hard to convince people to be on board with something, whether that's developers, designers, or legal experts. Everyone wants to know that what they're helping with or contributing to has a purpose and what that purpose is. So I definitely see that as part of my role, to be that, ambassador for SEO, to be that, educational lead, if you want to call it that, just to make sure we have better conversations, really. And people, they don't need to do SEO, but they need to understand why we do certain things. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do that, and I've had this in the beginning, there were always people questioning your every move. I mean, that can happen anyway, but it's constantly, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Why are we talking about these topics? That would be much more interesting. Yeah, but no one looks for that. So if you want to save yourself the trouble of, having the same conversations over and over again, make sure you explain it. Make sure you explain it from the start. People don't need to be experts, but they should understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and how their contribution helps with that.
Totally agree. AI in search is fascinating to me. It's an area that we all have to deal with, whether we like it or not. I find that at this point within the search landscape, we're going to see major changes or differentiators between industries. And e-commerce, I reckon the focus is going to be very much on sales, right? The hardcore sales. Yeah. Whereas in an industry such as finance, such as legal, there is a huge need for education, right? And you mentioned earlier, you guys provide education for founders. How do you think this is going to impact your space when AI in search is looking for this type of content? Are you going to be influenced to create more educational content, or is it a case of you're going to be looking into how to better package your content, or would you just leave it all to AI, to, let's say, Bard, for example, to curate and focus more on the bottom funnel type of content?
Yeah, really, really interesting times, right? I think we're just at the beginning. I think this is going to be faster and faster and faster, and we will see a lot of things changing. I think at the moment, legal, finance, we almost have a, counter movement to that. If you think about all automated content and, the internet being flooded with more and more AI generated content, I feel almost being the expert in your space is more important than ever. And it makes you stand out. And that's something we've just always worked on, and it was always core to what we do, where we really make sure we don't only use our expertise to inform our content creation, but we also highlight that on our content. You can see the experts, you can go to their profile, you can go to their LinkedIn, you can read our editorial policy and see how do we treat content, how do we create content. So I think we've always done that, and we always try to also establish our legal team as expert contributors by also featuring them in other third-party publications, featuring them in press releases to really build their profile. And we also get on board external experts who are very knowledgeable, very known in the space, and have them contribute as well. So I think for now, that's a good way to create content and really, really establish your presence and show your expertise, be the authority in the space. That might change in the future, but if we think about, AI generated search results and where that information comes from, I think it's more likely that, authority sources will be used for that than, some random blog that might cover the same topic. So I think just continuing to establish that authority is a good way to approach this. There are other areas where we do embrace AI, not necessarily to create content, but to help us do things faster, do them more efficiently. Yeah. we do explore how we can, I guess, in other areas use AI. So, for example, we've launched our AI chatbot on our website, where instead of having to read through our articles and you click through them one by one and you find what you want to read, you just ask the AI, hey, I don't know, you just ask whatever you want to ask, and then it gives you an answer. But at the same time, it gives you a whole list of articles where you can find the same information, but in more detail. So we're using it on our website to surface more of our content. So I think that's a helpful way to embrace AI and see how can it help you. So yeah, it's almost replacing the blog navigation, and well, not really replacing internal links, but it helps you with content discovery, which means, hey, maybe people spend more time on our site. Maybe they find more, they read more, they come back to us because they know it's super easy to use. So yeah, I think there are definitely opportunities, and exciting time. I'm really happy to be, basically doing SEO while all of these exciting things are happening. And it's going to be interesting moving forward, definitely.
Yeah, that right there, what you just mentioned with the internal chatbot, that is going to be, I think, a staple within SEO, because these days we're looking at speed from a user point of view, not necessarily speeding up one's website, load time, all of that, technicals, but in terms of a user quickly finding out the answer to what they want. I think the whole research from start to end, from a user point of view, needs to be narrowed down dramatically. And AI chatbot is going to be one of the ways to do that. Literally, as the way you just explained, where people, if you like, carry out more internal searches or searches on website, not just Google, which is going to be in itself a very interesting space.
Yeah, and it helps us learn as well, right? Because we can see what are people asking, and if we don't have a good answer for that, then, well, we can always improve.
Yeah, totally. After many years in the industry, what keeps you excited within SEO or search?
It never gets boring. Never, ever. I don't know. I wondered if maybe one day I'm too old for this and I don't want to keep up with it anymore. But no, not yet. I find it absolutely fascinating. I love working in SEO. I love that, it touches so many different areas, and it's such a perfect blend of being technical, being creative. Problem solving is a big part. You almost feel like a detective, right? Because there are no strict rules. It's not SEO works only this way and that's it. Of course not. So you're always finding ways. You're learning new things. You're testing things. This keeps me going to always investigate, to always try new things. And then of course, there are different ways of approaching search. I mean, Google is one search engine, but there are many other ways people search and discover things. We just spoke about, chatbots, AI. Yeah, it just can't get boring. There's always something to investigate and then think, how can I use this in a good way? How can I be creative about that? I think just that constant thing of having something new to explore, keeps me very, very much motivated to stay exactly where I am and basically grow with, how SEO is growing.
And SEO is so wide, so broad. You can look at it from several different ways, and it attracts people in a variety of ways. What would you put it down to from if you were to look at your background that led you to be more content led within SEO?
Trying to think. When I was agency side, I covered a lot of different areas. I think even in-house, I was always in the position to be the only person doing SEO or be at least the first hire in SEO and then getting other people into the team. I don't know. It just kind of happened throughout my career. And I think making information available and accessible is something that I'm really passionate about. So I think I naturally fell into that. And my role changed over time. I used to be very, very hands-on and involved in, the day-to-day execution. I haven't been the hands-on SEO person for a while now because, I'm more now the strategic mind behind the SEO operation. I do work with many different areas of the business and different teams. So, I touch on a lot of different areas of SEO, but I think content is just what I'm really, really passionate about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Creative mindsets, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I like, what I really like is bringing together the creativity with the analytical part that I enjoy and see. It doesn't stop with the creativity, right? Because you can be creative and maybe it doesn't do anything at all.
Right.
So finding that fit between, having a goal, I know what we want to achieve, and then using the creativity to find the right content to achieve this goal. I think this is what I really like, to bring these things together. And then, of course, analyzing, did we do the right thing? Did we not do the right thing? I think that mix of things is what I really enjoy.
Awesome. Lastly, Kerstin, if every department lead in a business knew this about SEO, they'll want to facilitate revenue growth. What would this be?
Okay. Do you mean if they knew something about SEO?
Yeah.
Growth through SEO.
Yeah.
That it costs money. It costs money. It's not free. It's not. That's the one thing you must know if you want to do SEO right. And I think that's maybe why sometimes SEO fails, because companies hire an SEO person and then this person is there but can't do much because there's no budget. I think that's the number one thing businesses need to know. You need to invest in SEO just as you would with any other channel.
Brilliant. We can leave it there. That's a brilliant way to end it. Thank you so much, Kerstin. Where can people find you online?
Best on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to reach out, say hello. Find me on LinkedIn, Kerstin Reichert. There's probably not too many of them there. Working at SeedLegals as SEO and content lead. That should help you find me.
Awesome. I'll have your LinkedIn in the description so people can get in touch with you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Kerstin.
Great.
Have a brilliant day. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Really great chat. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.